Welcome back to another video, everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the average true range indicator, known as the ATR. We are going to break down what is the average true range, how is the average true range formulated, how does the ATR help us, and we are going to put the ATR in action. So first and foremost, what is the ATR? The average true range, known as the ATR, is a volatility indicator that shows how much a security or a stock, same thing, moves on average during a selected time frame. So if we select a daily time frame, the ATR will tell us how much does the stock move up or down on a daily time frame. Stock A might move up or down $2. Stock B might move down $10. So the ATR helps us find the average movement on the up or down side of a stock based on a selected time frame. So for example, if you guys take a look right here, this is the ATR. This down here is the ATR. This is our ATR for stock MU. We are looking at a 1 year, 1 day stock for stock MU. Now, looking at this, we see that the ATR today is at $1.54. What that means is on a daily time frame, the ATR is representing that this stock moves up or down on average $1.54. So the range price on a daily basis from the opening till the closing on average is $1.54. Now if the stock one day moves $3, that means it has gotten outside of its average range, right? Or if it moves down $3, it means it's outside of its average ATR range. And that's very important to know, and I'll explain why. But this, once again, shows us the average daily movement because we are on a daily time frame, right? Now, if I was, let's say, on a hourly time frame where each candle showcased information for the hour, right? And the ATR was, let's say, 30 cents. That would mean each hour, the stock typically moves 30 cents up or 30 cents down on average. You know, if it moves 40 cents sometimes, that doesn't mean you go crazy, but on average, it tells us that it moves up or down 30 cents based on the time frame that we have selected. So now, let's understand the ATR a little bit more. The ATR is used with 14 periods with daily and longer time frames and showcases the volatility values that are in relation to the stock's price. So basically, the standard setting of the ATR is that it calculates 14 days, right? What that means is if you have the ATR on a daily time frame, it's going to get the average for 14 days. If you have the hourly time frame, it's going to calculate the average for 14 hours. If you have the 1 minute time frame on, it's going to calculate the average for 14 minutes, right? Now, it calculates the average on identifying how high or low the stock moves on a daily basis in the past 14 days if we are obviously on a daily time frame. Now, low ATR values would normally correspond to range trading. So if the ATR is going down or it's low, that means the stock is consolidating. There's no real movement. There's not much going on. High ATR values may indicate a trend breakout or breakdown, or it's just a crazy move. So if you just look at ATR and the ATR is increasing, that means the daily movements are increasing. The daily candles are increasing. Volatility is increasing. The stock may be made, let's say, a $2 move on a daily basis. With the ATR going higher, it probably moves up $4, $5, depending on whatever the ATR is doing now. So let's look at another example. So if you guys take a look right here, we're looking at stock Netflix. We're looking at a 1 year, 1 day chart. Once again, represents this is everything for 1 year. And each candle here, which everyone should be very, very familiar with by now, represents information for 1 day. Now, let's just jump to the ATR down here. Stock's average daily movement is $9.56. You guys can take a look right here. That's our ATR. So right now, our ATR is $9.56. That means the stock on average on a daily aspect moves up $9.56. Now, if it moves up $20, that's where it would be like, whoa, what happened? Why did such a big move happen? This is not normal. And there's some things that we would obviously have to look into. But just looking at this overall, seeing the ATR at 956, showcasing that the average true range is at $9.56. Now, if you guys take a look right here, right, increasing ATR is showcasing an increase in volatility. Now, as the ATR is increasing, it's showcasing that the daily price movements, even if you guys look here, are getting larger and larger compared to the past. So look at the candles here. Very small, which is why the ATR goes down, showcases not a lot of activities happening. And then once the ATR shoots up, it's showcasing more and more activity. And you guys can see that. Decreasing ATR, which is right here, showcases that the daily movement is getting smaller and smaller. Now, just because this is going down doesn't mean the stock has to go down. This is just representing that whatever price movement is happening up here, the daily range of price fluctuating up or down is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And if you just look at simple price action, I think it's very clear to kind of identify that, right? And then you can see stock has earnings, major gap, ATR spikes, right? So how is the ATR calculated? Now, you guys don't need to remember the calculation, so keep that in mind. You don't have to go and study the calculation and say, well, I need to know how to do it. No, you don't. The system does the calculation for you. You don't need to do the calculation. The system will calculate everything for you, but understanding the calculation behind it a little bit is a little bit effective because, like I said, when you're trading, I want you to understand what you're doing, and I want you to understand why you're using an indicator, why you're using a chart pattern, why you're doing anything, because the whole idea of trading is understanding. So let's jump into how the ATR is calculated. So this is how the ATR is calculated. You have to calculate three numbers. You have to get current day's range. This is what you minus. You get how high has the stock risen from yesterday's close, which is B, and then you get how low has the stock dropped from yesterday's close, which is C. And then if you get the final number of each example, whatever's the greatest number is what gets plugged into this formula, right? It's kind of a little bit complicated formula. Like I mentioned, you don't need to go and do the formula. The system does it for you. But the only thing I would say that you should kind of understand is what three factors does it factor in, right? It gets current day's range, today's high and low. It gets today's high and yesterday's close, and it gets yesterday's close and today's low. So it factors all those things in, and that's how the ATR is formulated. And obviously it plugs that number into this calculation and divides it by 14 because we have selected 14 days. If I selected 10-day average, we would change this to 10, or the system would change it to 10. You don't need to know the formula. I promise the system is going to do it for you. So don't stress about trying to figure out what the formula is and trying to, waste so much time and energy on this. You guys are going to see the system does everything for you. Now, the question is, how does the ATR help us? Cool, you showed us the ATR, but how does it help us? So ATR helps us in three ways. A, it helps us set stop losses. So for example, if let's say a stock's ATR is $1.50, what some people do is, hey, if the stock moves up and down $1.50, I'll put my stop loss $2 below. Now, obviously, that's not what I'm recommending you guys to do, right? That's the wrong way to place your stop loss. There's a strategy behind that, and I'll show you guys what that is and how to apply it. But it gives you an idea that a stock moves on average $1.50. So I'm not going to put my stop loss 20 cents below because there's a high possibility it'll stop me out. It helps you set profit targets. For example, if a stock moves $1.50 on a daily basis and a stock is at $10, you can't say I'm looking to exit at $20 in 2 days. Because if the stock moves $1.50 on average, and even if it goes up 2 days, on average, it's probably going to go up to 13. right? So these are things that you have to understand. Now, obviously, in 2 days, it can go to 20, depending on catalyst, news, whatever the case is. But just understanding this simple idea that the stock has to move, or usually does move on average, it will help you kind of take on better trades. And then finally, it measures volatility. Is volatility increasing? Is volatility decreasing? So I'm gonna open up a chart and I'm gonna show you guys how to set up the ATR and how to actually use it, and I'll show it to you on a real example right now. All right, so right here we're looking at Netflix. We're looking at a 3-year, 1-day chart. So as you guys can see, I don't have the ATR on. I don't have any indicator. Now, how do I apply the ATR, or how do I apply the indicator? Now, depending on the platform you're using, every platform is going to have different ways to set up indicators. But if you're using Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade, if you're using this platform, you guys can click right here. There's this icon right here. If you click that, that allows you to open up the indicator section where you can apply studies, you can apply indicators. So I have a bunch of indicators right here. What we're looking for is we're looking for the ATR. So you can search for ATR if you don't find it, or you can just scroll through this, right? So I want the ATR. I highlight on it, I click, add selected. The ATR pops up right here. Once that is done, I hit OK. Now I have the ATR showcasing right here. Now if I want to change the color of it, change any settings, I right click, I can go to studies, edit studies. Once again, right click, studies, edit studies. Or I can go back on this right here and I can click this edit button. If I do that, I can change the length. So if you guys take a look, I'm looking at 14-day average. If I want to change the average to 10 days, 5 days, whatever average you want to change it to, I can simply change that. But I'm going to leave it to 14. If I want to change the color of this to, let's say, for argument's sake, orange, I want to make the width a little bit wider. I can do that. I can change the style. Whatever you want to do, you can customize. That is completely up to you, right? This is a number I would keep at 14 unless you know why you're lowering it or increasing it. Just have a solid reasoning behind it. Don't just go up and change a number because you see something online or someone else told you. Have a reasoning behind it. I leave it on number 14. Once you do that, hit OK, and you can see it kind of changes. Now, if we take a look at Netflix, right here, zoom in and take a look at what's going on. The ATR is $9.56. That's showing us once again that the stock moves up or down $9.56. So one way some people go about this is let's just focus on this for example. Let's just say I find a supply zone, right? If I find a supply zone, a support level, and I want to put my stop loss, obviously my stop loss would kind of go below that, right? Now, some people, what they do is they say, okay, the ATR is at 956. I want to put my ATR, depending on your trading style, right? If you're someone that's swing trading or holding this for a longer position, you might say, okay, the stock is trading at $9.56, right? I'm going to put my stop loss 2x the ATR. So my stop loss is going to be at 9.56 multiplied by 2. Let's just say it's about $19 or something. I'll keep it at 19. So if someone buys this at $272, they'll say, okay, I'm going to put my stop loss $19 below it and give it a little bit gap. Me personally, instead of putting it at 2x, and I'll break this more down when we get to the stop loss section, right? I'd rather keep my stop loss a little bit below 254 just to give myself obviously a little bit room. And I think putting it maybe like $19 below or $20 below is going to be extremely far off depending on the play. But if you look at this, this kind of lines up to the same thing, because if you buy the stock at 272, our stop loss is putting us at, what is it, 260, 52, 53. So our stop loss is at 253, so it's still at the same level. So based on our ATR, it would take about 2 trading days for our stop loss to hit or for the stock to go that low. Now, if I was to put my stop loss 1x ATR, right, at $9.56, let's say $10, that wouldn't make sense because stock is at 272. And if I put it 1x ATR, it would be at 262. 262 would give me a stop loss right there. Now, that doesn't make sense because obviously the stock can trade or range around here, and I'll probably get stopped out. So if I'm trading this on a daily time frame, it would make more sense for me to A, put my stop loss below that point. Why? Because A, there's support, and B, it kind of falls under 2x ATR. It gives you a lot more room, but that's if you are swing trading this because we are on a daily chart. But if I'm day trading this and I'm looking to capture smaller moves, let's say I'm trading this on a 15-minute or a 5-minute, I'm not going to trade it on a 5-minute chart and look to put my stop loss $20 below. That's way too excessive, and I'll show you and I'll break this down more when we get to risk management and stop losses, entries and exit points. You'll see how to properly apply your stops, where to apply them, but that's one way to use an ATR. Another way to use our ATR is if we are looking at the ATR on a daily time frame and it says $9.56 and I buy the stock at 272, first and foremost, I obviously got to have my levels to set profit targets. It has to break, let's say, 300 for me to even think about taking profits anywhere above 300. But let's just say 956 and I want to take profit at $400, which is fine. Doesn't make sense, but it's fine. You can't say I want to buy the stock tomorrow at 272 and 2 days later I want to sell it at 400. Based on the ATR, it doesn't look like it's going to go to 400 in 2 days. Is it possible? Yes, if there is some news or catalyst that pops out and drastically increases Netflix's price, which I don't really see happening, to be honest, right? But there is a possibility, like they have earnings. But looking at it from a realistic approach, that's just not the way to go about trading. You want to look at actual hard facts. Now, another thing a lot of people do wrong with the ATR is when they look at it, they focus too much on it. Okay, if I buy the stock here, how low should I, put my stop? No, I don't think it needs to be complicated. I think if you want to use the ATR, cool, or you can just simply trade off, using price action, understanding where you're going to place your stop, and take things from there. Now, if the stock is trading right at 254, and I'm swing trading it, I wouldn't put my stop loss at 252, right? Because on a daily basis, it moves $9, so I'd want to give myself a little bit more room, right? So that's how one way the ATR is working. Now, another way ATR is working, if you guys, let's say I go to a different stock. I don't want to look at Netflix. Let's say I look at, I go to Z. I go to stock Z. So if you take a look at stock Z, right, let's focus on right here. You can see ATR is flat, showcasing is that the stock on average is moving about right there, right? Whatever the number is, if I go on it, you guys can see whatever it is on average, the ATR is moving $1.61, $1.63. On average, it moves $1.60, $1.70 on a daily basis. So if I buy this stock at 42, I can't say in one day I want to sell it at 50, right? Because based on actual facts, the stock moves $1.50 a day, $1.60 a day up or down. So for it to move $8, I would need a few days. I can't say, okay, I'm going to buy it at 42 and this is randomly going to go to 50. Is it possible? Yes, but if you look at the hard facts, actual facts of the stock and information, it just doesn't make sense probability-wise, right? So it's helping us with our profit taking, our profit targets. It's helping us with our stop losses, and it's also helping us with volatility, right? Increased ATR showcases bigger moves on the up or down side. Let's look at one more. Let's say I go to Stock Snap real quick. Same thing with Stock Snap, you guys can see. This goes down, it's moving 40 cents on a daily basis, right? If you look here, it's moving 40 cents, 40 cents, 40 cents. If you look over here, you'll see it goes from 40 cents to about 49, 49, 58, 64, right? So it moves from about 40 cents to 58 cents or 60 cents. So if I buy this stock in the morning, right, at $10, I can't say my profit target the same day is 11. It's not realistic because the stock on average moves 40 cents to 60 cents, right? So I can say my profit target is 10.50 or 10.40, right? But saying it's $11 is just not realistic, because if you look at the probability aspect, right, there's a very few days the stock has moved up or down full dollar. Very few days, right? And that's where the ATR kicks in. Yes, it started, the average started kicking in, but even if you look at the highest point of the average, it has still never crossed $1. So once again, me looking to even day trade this, let's say I want to day trade it tomorrow. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to day trade this tomorrow. I'm going to buy it at $14.50 and I'm going to sell it at $16. It's not realistic. Why? Because the stock moves 50 cents on average. So if I'm playing this, I need 3 days for it to basically or technically go to 16, because 3 days is going to take $1.50. Right? So that's how the ATR, kind of works for us and how we can use it. I personally think it's a very effective tool. Now, this indicator, just to keep in mind, is never going to show us where a stock is going. Just because the ATR is going up doesn't mean the stock's going to go up. Just because the ATR goes down doesn't mean the stock is going to go down. So ATR is not showing us anything with what the stock is going to do. In simple terms, it is just showing us the average movement of the selected stock in the time period. That is the only thing the ATR does, and the way it helps us with stop losses, profit targets, and showcases us volatility of the stock on the up or downside.